and welcome back to English for Specific Purposes, Level B1. Today we are your hosts. I'm Mr. Deril, and this is...
I'm Miss Thათია.
Today we are going to talk about ecology once more.
Again, and I think that we have something very interesting to tell to our audience, right?
I think so.
გამარჯობათ, მე თათია ვარ, ეს კი დერილია. კეთილი იყოს თქვენი დაბრუნება ჩვენს ტელესკოლაში. ჩვენ განვიხილეთ ბევრი საინტერესო თემა, წინა გაკვეთილზე ვისაუბრეთ ეკოლოგიაზე, დღევანდელი ჩვენი თემა კვლავ ეკოლოგიაა. But before we move to the lesson, I think that we have to look at our agenda.
You're right,
what do we have on our agenda, Mr. Deril?
You're right, Ms. Thათია. Today we'll start with the introduction as always. We will look at the vocabulary of the reading text. We'll have a look at the reading text itself, move on to the grammar, which is past, perfect, passive, and then we'll kind of summarize everything and give homework to our audience.
Such an interesting lesson. მოდით ჩვენი გაკვეთილის გეგმას გადავხედოთ. ჩვენი გაკვეთილი დაიწყება მცირე შესავლით, შემდეგ გავეცნობით ახალ სიტყვებს, შემდეგ წავიკითხავთ ძალიან საინტერესო ტექსტს, ამას მოყვება გრამატიკა, შემდეგ შევაჯამებთ გაკვეთილს და დავასრულებთ ყველასათვის საყვარელი საშინაო დავალებით. Okay, let's get started. Mr. Deril, as the topic is ecology again, I want to talk about a very interesting topic. What ecological problems are we facing at the moment? And there is much talk about this.
I think the main one has to be global warming.
Yeah.
We hear about it every single day. We hear about the horror stories about the ice caps at the polars melting and causing a lot of damage across the planet. Yeah, I think it's global warming.
Yes, and there are a lot of activists against this global warming, and I think that there is much done against it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Derill, have you got any idea what is the reason for this global warming? So yeah, we are talking about this global warming, but what is the reason for that?
I think a lot of people are using, for example, cars and the emissions and the bad pollutants that they give off is heating the planet and causing this global warming.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing that causes this global warming is pollution.
Yeah.
And pollution is caused by us, by people. So we should be more considerate. Yeah.
If it's our fault, we should pay more attention and we should do something about it.
Okay, and I think that in our lesson we're going to find out more about pollution and more about the ways how this problem can be solved.
Good, it's a very important topic.
Okay, let's get started, and now let's look at our first set of vocabulary. And the first word we have is emissions. Emissions is a noun, and in Georgian it means გამონაბოლქვი. Mr. Derill, can you help us with the definition of this word?
Sure. An emission is a substance that is sent out into the air, usually by car engines or various products, and it's harmful for the environment and it causes us health damage.
Yeah, I agree with you. Emissions is a noun, and in Georgian it is გამონაბოლქვი. Emissions, გამონაბოლქვი. Let's say together.
Emissions.
And our next word is waste. Waste is a noun, and in Georgian it is სამრეწველო ნარჩენები. ნარჩენები ზოგადად. Mr. Derill, can you give us more information about this word?
Yes, waste is anything, any product that we have remainder of, that we have left over after we've used what we need, and it tends to be harmful for the environment.
Yes, and I think that factories have a lot of waste, which then pollute the environment.
Exactly.
Right?
We should cut down on our waste.
Yes, really. So waste is a noun, and in Georgian it is სამრეწველო ნარჩენები, ნარჩენი. Waste, სამრეწველო ნარჩენები, ნარჩენი. So let's say together, waste. And our next word is drought. Drought is a noun, and in Georgian it is gvalva. Mr. Derill, I think I need your help again.
Definitely. A drought is a period of time where there's no water or very little water, usually in hot countries, desert areas, and so on.
Yeah, in deserts, I think that drought is a common thing, right?
Yeah, a drought is a common thing.
Yeah. So drought is a noun, and in Georgian it is gvalva. Drought, gvalva. Let's say together.
Drought.
Our next word is flood. Flood is a noun, and in Georgian it means წყალდიდობა. Mr. Derill, can we call the situation flood when there is a lot of rain and then there is a lot of water in the streets and the level of water rises?
Precisely, Ms. Thatiya. That's exactly what a flood is. When there's an excess, too much water in an area that's maybe a lot more drier and is not prepared for this amount of water.
Okay, I think that we should be afraid of this. And I think that Tbilisi has witnessed flood a few years ago, and it flooded a lot of houses, and it was a disaster.
Oh, that's shocking.
Okay, flood is a noun, and in Georgian it means წყალდიდობა. Flood, წყალდიდობა. Now let's say together, flood. And the next word is earthquake. Earthquake is a noun, and in Georgian it means მიწისძვრა. Mr. Derill, can you help me with the definition again?
An earthquake is a sudden movement of the Earth's surface, which causes great damage.
Yeah, I think that Georgia has also witnessed some earthquakes, but it's not very common in Georgia as it is common in Japan, for example, right? So earthquake is a noun, and in Georgian it means მიწისძვრა. Earthquake. მიწისძვრა. Let's say it together.
Earthquake.
The next word is pollution. Pollution is a noun, and in Georgian it means დაბინძურება. You've talked about pollution, Mr. Derill. Can you give us some more details about this word?
Yes, I can. It's any kind of damage caused to the air, to the land, to water, caused by our harmful products and substances.
Okay, I got it. So pollution is a noun, and in Georgian it is დაბინძურება. Pollution, დაბინძურება. Let's say it together.
Pollution.
And I think that we have finished with the words, and it's time to do some exercise and check how well we remember the words, okay? ეხლა კი ლექსიკურ დავალებაზე გადავიდეთ. ეკრანზე მოცემულია წინადადება. ჩვენ ერთად უნდა შევეცადოთ შევარჩიოთ სწორი სიტყვა მოცემული წინადადებისთვის. Let's start. Okay, can you read the first sentence?
I'd love to.
Okay.
Here it is. Car exhausts are the main reason for the city's what?
So as I know, car exhausts cause pollution. So I think that it should be pollution.
Seems like a reasonable choice.
Okay, let's check. Yeah, you're
There you
right. Okay, and I'll try the next one. So many trees died during the long, maybe it's drought, because we know that if there is no rain, the situation which we have is drought, and when there is drought, the trees and plants cannot live anymore, right?
You're right. I think the answer is drought.
Okay, let's see. And I think that we are right. So we remember the words quite well, I think. So, Mr. Derill, there is the next sentence. Please, can you please read it?
Sure. This river is polluted with factory what, Ms. Thatiya?
I think that it should be waste, because we said that factories have a lot of waste, produce a lot of waste, okay? And let's check. I think that, not I think, but I'm sure that it's right, okay? Now let's move on. 3 words. We have to choose out of 3 words, and let's read the sentence.
A great many houses were damaged in the what?
I think that the houses are damaged during the earthquakes.
Generally, yeah. Well, it could be damaged by floods as well, but I think houses, earthquakes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's check, and we are right.
Very good.
So earthquakes usually cause the damage of the houses. And our next sentence is, the bridge was carried away by the... So we said that if the level of the water rises, it's called flood, and flood can carry away the bridges. So I think that flood is the right answer here, and I'm not mistaken, okay? And I think that the final one is absolutely obvious. But let's read. Many people have realized that the emissions from cars are harmful to the environment. So let's remember that cars have got emissions, which then cause the pollution of the environment, which in return cause the global warming.
And I think you are right.
Okay, that's right. And I think that we have finished with the words, and now we can move on to the reading. But before we move to the reading, I want to show you a picture. Mr. Derill, look at the picture. Can you tell me what you can see in the picture?
Now, I think this is connected to our reading, and so I'm sure this is the Great Pacific Patch.
Yes, you are right. And do you have any information about this Great Pacific Garbage Patch?
Okay, so we're trying to predict what's in the reading. Now, let's see. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch probably has to do with a lot of garbage in the Pacific Ocean between America and Asia.
Yeah, it turns out that you have information about it. And by the way, I watched a documentary about it recently, and I was really shocked to see the video about this garbage patch. And today we're going to read the text about it and how it's appeared and if there is any kind of solution to this. But before that, I think that we have to learn some words which will help us to understand the text better. ახლა ვიდრე უშუალოდ ტექსტს ავიკითხავდეთ, მოდით შევისწავლოთ რამოდენიმე სიტყვა, რომელიც ამ ტექსტის უკეთესად გაგებაში დაგვეხმარება. Okay, let's start. So the first word we have is toxic. Toxic is an adjective, and in Georgian it means მომწამლავი. Mr. Derill, I think I need your help now.
It's an awful word. You never want to be around toxic substances. Something poisonous, bad for the human body.
Absolutely right. For example, there are some substances that can be toxic for humans, right? So toxic is an adjective, and in Georgian it means მომწამლავი. Toxic, მომწამლავი.
Toxic.
Okay, it's not a very pleasant word.
It even sounds ugly.
Yeah. The next word is garbage dump. Garbage dump is a noun, and in Georgian it means ნაგავსაყრელი. Mr. Derill, can you give us more detailed information about the word garbage dump?
Yeah, almost like it says, it's a place where people start to throw away their garbage in a certain area. They might be allowed to do it, but they also might not be allowed to do it. They just start doing it by themselves. A place where garbage is collected.
Okay, I got it. So garbage dump is a noun, and in Georgian it means ნაგავსაყრელი. Garbage dump, ნაგავსაყრელი. Let's say together.
Garbage dump.
Okay, and the next word is debris. Debris is a noun, and in Georgian it means ნამტვრევები, სამშენებლო ნაკავი. Mr. Derill, I think that I need your help again.
Debris, you don't pronounce the last S, so it's a bit of a funny word. But anyway, debris, it's broken or torn pieces of a larger thing that was a whole part, but now it's kind of like all kind of destroyed and in tiny pieces.
Okay, is it a synonym of wreck? Or maybe not?
It's close, very close.
Okay, thank you. So debris is a noun, and in Georgian it means ნამტვრევები, სამშენებლო ნაკავი. Debris, ნამტვრევები, სამშენებლო ნაკავი. Let's say together.
Debris.
And our next word is forecast. Forecast is a verb, and in Georgian it means პროგნოზირება. Mr. Derill, we talked about the word. We studied the word which was synonym to this word. Can you just remind me the word we studied?
Predict?
Yes, you are right. So does forecast mean predict?
It's a very close synonym of predict, yes. And I would love to be able to forecast, my favorite football team, Liverpool's, for future.
You said it.
But I can't. It's the ability to predict what might happen.
Yeah, and we usually say we can, there is weather forecast, right? When people are predicting the weather, what kind of weather is going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. Forecast is a verb, and in Georgian it means პროგნოზირება. Forecast, პროგნოზირება. Let's say together.
Forecast.
And our next word is sample. Sample is a noun, and in Georgian it means ნიმუში. Mr. Derill, I need your help.
A sample is a small part of something bigger that you taste or you kind of experience in order to understand what the bigger part is like. So you take a little piece, you take a sample of a small chocolate cake to feel how the entire cake feels.
Ah, okay. For example, if I say the scientists are analyzing the samples, it means that they have taken some small portions of something and they are analyzing it
to understand the bigger picture.
Ah, okay, I got it. Sample is a noun, and in Georgian it is nimushi. Sample, nimushi. Let's say together, sample. And our next word is endanger. Endanger is a verb and it means საფრთხეში ჩაგდება, okay? Mr. Derill, I think that we still need your help.
You never want to be guilty of this verb. It's when you put someone in danger and you never want to do that to anyone or anything.
Yes, you're right. And I think that the pollution endangers a lot of animals. Am I right?
Yes, so the pollution that we create is making life dangerous for the animals.
Yes, okay, I got it. So endanger is a verb and it means საფრთხეში ჩაგდება. Endanger, საფრთხეში ჩაგდება. Let's say it together.
Endanger.
And I think that we have finished with the words and we can move on to the text. Let's read a very interesting text about the garbage patch existing in the Pacific Ocean, as you said. When we think of an island in the Pacific Ocean, we might think of palm trees, a warm sun, and soft ocean breezes. But you may be surprised to discover that there is an enormous island of floating garbage, more than twice the size of France, somewhere between California and Japan. This moving patch of trash is the largest garbage dump on the planet. It has been estimated that this huge patch of garbage contains more than 3.5 million tons of debris, much of its plastic. Researchers have noted that the patch has doubled in size every decade, and they forecast that this trend will only continue.
So, where does all the trash originate? Experts believe that 80% comes from sources on land and 20% comes from trash thrown out by ships at sea. The garbage patch was discovered in 1997 by an American wealthy businessman, Charles Moore, who as a result of his experience sold his business interests and became an environmental activist. His foundation takes water samples from the patch and analyzes them for the amount of plastic and toxic chemicals. Fish caught in the research boat's nets have also been tested. The samples have shown that the plastic in the patch and the Pacific Ocean in general is increasing. Water samples taken recently contain twice as much plastic samples from the last 10 years.
It has been suggested by several scientists that the garbage patch actually has an active, healthy ecosystem after one of the floating areas had been found to have a large amount of fish, phytoplankton and zooplankton. It has been noted that with so much trash to float on, some species such as crabs grow to be more abundant than they would without the plastic debris. However, it's believed that many of these garbage dwellers may be invasive species or that they may alter the natural food chain and deprive other species of food.
How harmful is it? It has been shown that marine debris can entangle or otherwise harm ocean life, endanger shore animals, and pose a risk to human health. What goes into the ocean goes into these animals and onto your dinner plate. It's that simple, said Charles Moore. So, what can be done to stop growing the patch of garbage in the ocean? Environmental organizations should focus on changing people's behavior. If we all use and throw away less plastic, we can stop the patch from getting bigger.
An interesting text, isn't it? Okay, I think that we should think more about how to behave and how to look more after the environment. Okay?
It's a scary text. I never knew that such a disaster was existing in the ocean.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is the truth. Okay, now I think that we have finished with the text and it's time to check how well we understood the text. So for this, we will see the sentences and we have to decide whether the sentences are true or false. ახლა ეკრანზე თქვენი ხილავთ წინადადებებს და ჩვენ უნდა შევეცადოთ, რომ განსაზღვროთ ეს წინადადებები შეესაბამება თუ არა სიმართლეს. თუ წინადადება შეესაბამება ტექსტს, ვამბობთ true, ანუ მართალია, თუ წინადადება არ შეესაბამება ტექსტს, ვამბობთ false, ანუ მცდარია. Let's start and let's see how well we remember the text, right? Okay, the first statement is, all islands in the Pacific Ocean are full of palm trees, warm sun and soft breeze. Do you think that this is true or false, Mr.
That's
Dare?
what I thought before I read today's text, and today's text says it's false.
Yes, it is definitely false because we were talking about the island, which is not full of palm trees and warm sun, but it is full of garbage. And here is the proof sentence, okay, on the screen. Now let's move on to the next statement. And the next statement is, Mr. Dare?
The researchers predict that the garbage patch will keep growing in size.
And I'm sure that this is true because when I read, I was really scared. So this is true. And we read that researchers have noted that the patch has doubled in size every decade and forecast that this trend will continue. Unfortunately, it's true. And our next statement is, Mr. Dare?
Experts think that 80% of trash comes from the waste thrown out of ships at sea.
I don't think that this is right because not only ships are responsible for this garbage, and let's check, this is false as I said, and the proof sentence is here. Experts believe that 80% comes from source on land and 20% comes from trash thrown out by ships at sea. Okay, and the next one, please.
Is the analysis of water samples has demonstrated that the amount of plastic in the Pacific Ocean has increased. Is this true or false?
I think that it must be true. Let's
check.
It's true. Unfortunately, it's true again. The samples have shown that the plastic in the patch and the Pacific Ocean in general is increasing. Okay, very sad story, isn't it, Mr. Dare?
A terrible story. I'm kind of scared.
Me too. So the next statement is, the garbage dump in the Pacific Ocean doesn't put the lives of animals at risk.
I would say that this is false.
Let's check. Yeah, you are right, it's absolutely right. And the sentence here said the following: it has been shown that marine debris can entangle or otherwise harm ocean life and endanger shore animals. And I think that we have finished with the statements, Mr. Dare, and I think that it's time to move to grammar. Let's see. ეხლა კი გადავედით გრამატიკის ნაწილზე. Okay, so let's look at the sentence. It had been suggested by several scientists that the garbage patch actually has an active, healthy ecosystem after one of the floating areas had been found to have a large amount of fish. Mr. Dere, as we can see, some of the words are highlighted here, and I recognize past perfect passive here. So I think that the topic of today's lesson is past perfect passive.
You're exactly correct, Ms. Thათია, as always. And let's move on to the grammar. So we're talking about past perfect passive. Similar to the past perfect in the active voice, the past perfect passive expresses a previous action or state that began in the past and continued up to another point in the past, and its consequences have implications for that second point in time. Now, we use the past perfect passive with the same meaning as past perfect in the active voice, except for the fact that the past perfect passive puts a focus on the effect or the object rather than the doer or the subject of the action. Here is how we create the affirmative form. We have an object plus had plus been plus the past participle. Here's an example. Before the program began, millions of bottles had been thrown away daily. Let's go on to the interrogative form. Here we use had plus object plus been plus the past participle form. Here's an example to make it clear for you. Had millions of bottles been thrown away daily before the program began? And let's move on to the negative form. We have the object plus had plus not plus been plus the past participle. So, millions of bottles had not been thrown away daily before the program started.
And now I think we have to move to the exercise, Mr. Derill, and check how well we can use this structure. ეკრანზე მოცემულია წინადადება, რომელიც უნდა შევეცადოთ, რომ გადავიყვანოთ ვნებით გვარში. Let's turn the sentences into passive. So the first sentence says, scientists had not known the effects prior to the study. So, Mr. Derill, can you help me and transform this sentence into passive?
Sure, Ms. Thatiya. This is the way you might be able to do this. The effects had not been known by scientists prior to the study.
And you're absolutely right. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one and I'll have a try, okay? Now the next sentence. Scientists had studied a variety of solutions prior to the implementation of the current one. So I think that I have to put the object in front. So I would say variety of solutions had been studied by scientists prior to the implementation of the current one.
Excellent.
Now it's your turn, Mr. Derill.
When the scientists arrived, they saw that somebody had cleaned the dump. When the scientists arrived, they saw that the dump had been cleaned.
Yes, absolutely right. And here is the right sentence. I think that we can use this past perfect passive, but unfortunately it's time to finish the lesson, and I think that it's time to summarize the lesson.
Now, Ms. Thatiya, you remember we started with a vocabulary review of important words for today. We went on to the text. We read a fascinating text on a troubling problem, the world's biggest ocean dump. And then we went on to the grammar and we had a look at past perfect passive.
Very interesting. მოდით შევაჯამოთ ჩვენი დღევანდელი გაკვეთილი. გაკვეთილის პირველ ნაწილში ვისწავლეთ ახალი სიტყვები. შემდეგ წავიკითხეთ ტექსტი. შემდეგ გავეცანით გრამატიკას და ახლა დროა საშინაო დავალებაზე ვიფიქროთ. Okay, what's homework for us, Mr. Derill?
A very relevant topic to today's subject matter. We want you to write about how we all can look after the environment.
Oh, very interesting thing, and maybe we can get some interesting suggestions from people. So we have to look forward to their answers. But where can people upload their homework?
Great question. They can upload the homework to the address that's seen on the screen right now, and as a bonus, they can get a model answer on the same address.
Oh, that's very good. It will be helpful for them, right? გთხოვთ დავალება ეკრანზე მითითებულ მისამართზე ატვირთოთ.
We've learned a lot today, and I think we have more to learn.
And I think that we have given food for thought.
Very good.
Okay, so let's finish the lesson.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Goodbye,
Bye.
everyone.